Chapter 2, Officer Davis. We were patrolling the streets of the city when their radio suddenly came to life. The voice of Barbara, the precinct's dispatcher, crackled through, calling for Car 34 to respond to Ralph's bar. "What is the trouble there this time?" I begrudgingly questioned. "Details are sketchy. The only information we were able to gather was that there is an incident involving a woman. People on the scene say she's unresponsive. Medical has been dispatched and should arrive before you," Barbara said. I felt my heart drop as I realized the severity of the situation. We quickly switched on the sirens and sped towards the scene. As we approached the bar, they saw a small crowd gathered outside, their faces etched with shock and horror. As we arrived on the scene, we parked our cruiser and made our way towards the entrance. Pushing past a group of people standing outside the bar, Haley started taking names and gathering information as I entered, hand on my gun, unsure of what I was walking into. The once lively bar was now silent. The music had stopped playing, and the house lights had been turned on. Near the entrance, the bar's owner, Ralph Sanders, and his business partner stood gazing over the body of a deceased woman. "Okay, everyone, stand aside. I don't need any of the evidence tampered with or anything disturbed. Please make your way outside and give your names to my partner." Pointing to the owner, I motioned for him to stand right where he was so I could get a statement and know more of what had transpired. Standing at the edge of the accident, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of disgust at what he saw. There, laying in a small pool of blood, a woman lay motionless on the ground, surrounded by broken glass and debris. It was clear that she had been a victim of an attack. It was also obvious that whoever had done it had either fled the scene or was going to be amongst the onlookers. If I was going to bet money on it, my money would be on fleeing. I began to process the scene, looking at the position of the body, any items that may be lying within the vicinity, and even markings in the blood. Turning my attention to the owner, my voice came alive with a slew of questions. "So, can you tell me what happened here? Do you know who this woman was?" Reaching up my finger, I scratched my nose as the owner started talking. "No, I have no idea. You know how many people I have coming in and out of here all night long? Can you tell me what happened?" All I know is that everything was going fine. The music was playing, and the crowd was going crazy. Then there were a loud bang, and people started to scatter. The next thing I know is my place is empty, and I have a dead girl laying on my floor. The owner gave in his not so detailed statement. As they worked to secure the scene, I couldn't help but think about all the paperwork I was going to have to do because some junkie girl decided to die on my shift. These nights have started to become more and more common in the city. With the onset of the warmer weather, it seemed that there are more violent crimes and mass shootings going on in the city than there have been in years. A moment later, Hale enters the bar, notifying me that the coroner had arrived. Pushing past the officer, a man in a white lab coat approaches the body. With him were two men in scrubs pushing a gurney. Making his way to the body, the coroner carefully positions himself to examine the body. Careful not to disturb any of the evidence, the man pronounces the woman dead. Now, with the official confirmation, the two gentlemen made their way to the girl, carefully picking her up and place her on the gurney. Pulling a white sheet from a hanging bag, they cover the young girl as to not expose her to the gawking public. As they push the gurney down the hall and outside, the crowd suddenly becomes quiet, all except for one woman who suddenly erupts with blood-curdling screams. "Rachel!" she calls out. The woman starts running towards the gurney, but is held back by many of the onlookers. As she struggled, she broke free and almost made it to the body. Officer Hale, acting swiftly, subdued the woman. "Hold on! Hold! You can't go over there!" "They need to take the body." "Who are you?" He tries to get information from the violent woman. Doing everything he can to hold her back, he has no choice but to knock her to her knees and put her in handcuffs. As the crowd starts to see the interaction, many of them who were still there, intoxicated and believing in their civic duty, started to approach Officer Hale, demanding that he releases the woman, that she has done nothing wrong. It was at this time other units started to arrive on the scene. The once peaceful night had suddenly erupted into a drunken bar fight with the police. When everything was said and done, several people were taken to the hospital. A few were arrested, but the majority ran off once they saw the police arriving. In the back of Officer Hale's patrol car was the screaming woman, now calmer, sobbing uncontrollably in the back seat of the cruiser. The body of the young woman had been driven off by the ambulance and peace had been restored to Ralph's. The quiet precinct was now alive with several people who were arrested at the bar. One of these was the young woman desperately trying to get to the body. After she had been looked at by the intake nurse, she was escorted to a conference room to await us. As I sit across from Olivia Owens, also known as Crackerjack, in the conference room, I can feel the tension in the air. We have been questioning her about the death of her sister Rachel, who was found deceased at the club earlier that evening. The conversation has been going on for a while, and things are starting to heat up. I try to remain calm as I ask her some tough questions. "Do you have any idea who gave your sister the drugs?" I ask. Olivia shakes her head vehemently. "No, I don't know who gave her the drugs," she says, her voice trembling with emotion. "I swear to God I had nothing to do with it." Officer Hale chimes in. "Olivia, you have several outstanding warrants. With just what I have here in my hand, you can easily go away for the next 10-15 years easily. Now, I know you don't want to be spending your 20s and mid-30s in an orange jumpsuit giving hand jobs to guards for extra TV time, do you?" Olivia's expression on her face turned sour. "You are both a bunch of pigs. Fuck off." Sitting back in her chair, she turns her gaze towards the camera in the corner of the conference room. "You can fuck off as well." Hale, looking at me, pulls out a folder and slams it on the table. "Listen. We don't want you. You're just a small fish in the sea. Your sister, just another junkie who got a bad batch. The odds are you know who did it, and are probably just waiting to get out of here and take care of it yourself. You know, that is just fine. Less paperwork for us to do if you lowlifes take yourselves out before we have to. I have a proposition for you, a proposal as it were. And if you are interested and can pull it off, it could mean a lot of money and a get-out-of-jail-free card. Are you interested?" "Why would I want to help you scumbags anyway? All I wanted was my sister. Now she's laying on a slab somewhere with a toe tag. Odds are I will never get to see her again, and you robbed me of my final moments with her," she said, tears rolling in her eyes. Hale, turning his gaze towards me, signaled to go out and cut the feed to the cameras. After a moment, I returned to the room and signaled that they weren't being recorded. "Listen, let's cut the crap and put our big boy and girl pants on. This is how things are going to go. We want to play a little game. There is this guy, Zephyr Calderon, and we want to play a little game with him. You see, he's this big tech guy who, for all intent and purposes, likes to shit on the little guy. He's getting ready to launch this new AI bullshit that is designed to take away the jobs of hard, honest working people like us. We don't think that is right, and we want to teach him a lesson. Knock him down a few pegs, as it were," I stated, looking at my partner and then at Olivia. "Several months ago, we took down this meth lab on the outskirts of the city. In that haul, we compensated over $4.5 million in cash and another $7 million in product getting ready to be released onto the streets. Do you know what happened with all of that money and product when it came into police custody? The money was compensated by the DEA and the drugs destroyed. And do you know what Officer Davis and I got for our time? Trouble and efforts for taking down these scumbags? A pat on the back and a kick in the ass to go out onto the streets and do it again." Flipping open the folder, Hale showed Olivia the newspaper article that showed Zephyr's story and told her that this guy made billions of dollars sitting on his ass tapping away at the keyboard while we did actual work and got shafted. "Now, Olivia, I know you aren't the brightest person in the room, however. Even you can see we are getting rammed in the ass with no lube. All I'm proposing is that you do a little job for us. We want you to take something we have, a device, and corrupt one of his computers with it. Once that happens, we will take over and start to make this guy's life a living hell. In the end, we make him pay us $1 million or $2 million each to go away, and the three of us go our separate ways. What do you think? He asks, sitting back in the chair, intertwining his fingers together like an evil mastermind waiting to take over the world. What if I don't want to do this? She asked. Well, for all intents and purposes, you could be held or charged for the death of your sister. This causes Olivia to become irate. I didn't do anything. She screams, tears streaming down her face. Why can't you understand that? Listen, shop! We don't give a fuck if you killed your sister or not. The point is, we are very powerful motherfuckers, and if we decided that you killed your sister, we can easily make it look that way. Now I'm offering you a strung-out dredge on society, an opportunity to actually make something of your life. I'm sure you will probably piss it all away in a year ending up in a gutter. But that's a problem I'll deal with another day. For now, all I need to know is if you are in or out. Hale, his face turning red at the fact this conversation had continued this long. Sitting back in the chair, Olivia looked at the two men and replied, I guess I have no choice. Hale and I look at each other and smile.